Welcome back to a latte with Yate. I know it's been a while. I have a couple of things I want to talk to you about that's happening in what I call the perfect storm. You know, God used storms a lot to get his people to where it is that they need it to be. Now, in the midst of the storm, it was scary, it was dark, and it seemed brutal. However, the aftermath of the storm, when people obeyed during the storm, was always a refreshing and a newness and them answering the call that was put on their life. Well, during this coronavirus storm, I call this a storm, which is passing. Another thing about storms is as soon as they start, they're passing through. And God said, this too shall pass. And that's really good news right now. Right now, I'm feeling like this last week, I've been challenged to really not act on what makes sense to me. I have a pastor who talks about making decisions that seem logical and necessary. And faith and trusting in God, rarely is it going to seem logical and rarely is it going to seem necessary because he's God and his ways are not my ways and his thoughts are not my thoughts. And we are all blessed for that, right? And so having faith, sometimes faith with works is being still and knowing that he's God in the midst of the storm. I trust you in the midst of the storm. I'm not going to make any permanent decisions based on temporary feelings. That's important because the storm is passing. And sometimes in this last week, I felt like I was getting stuck in a moment, and this is a moment. And I know that it can be while we're isolated and why we're not able to be with each other, it's very easy to feel like we're disconnected and depression can start to set in. And just that morbid foreboding can start to set in. And God is saying, be of good cheer. In John 16, he says that you're going to have a lot of tribulations. And I substitute, you're going to have a lot of storms. But be of good cheer. I have overcome them all. And so I have to be of good cheer, even in the midst of what seems like a gloomy and dark time, and knowing that it's going to be for my good and for God's glory. And this too is passing. The storm is passing, and we're all in this together. We're all in this together. And so I just wanted to encourage you in knowing that this too is passing. The storm is for our good and for God's glory. This is what happens in a storm. I know in Mississippi, when storms would happen, sometimes the thunder would shake the whole house and the lightning would light up the whole yard. And it was dark and it was kind of scary sometimes, but the aftermath of the storm brought new growth. It brought spring flowers and things would start to bud and grow that only could have happened with the torrential rains of the storm. The storm does more watering than the water hose or the sprinkler could ever do. Sometimes in a storm, parts of the house would get maybe blown off or damaged, maybe lose some tiles on the ceiling or the roof would come off. But however, those things that were broken or taken away by the storm were things that needed to be replaced or things that needed to be made new anyway. Tree branches and things that were weak and shriveled up were easily broken off and blown off by the wind so that new growth could happen, new trees, new branches. And so even in my own life, there's some things that have been dredged up in this storm that I needed to look at, that needed to be washed away, that needed to be blown away. That me being the man of God and the children of God that we are, there's some things that he wants to blow away in this storm. There's some things that he wants to kind of just flood out of our lives so that new growth can happen. And it only can happen in this perfect storm. So I'm learning to celebrate God for the storm. He's the giver of my sunny days. And don't we love it when life is sunny and we're walking in the blessings and life is good? And he's also the giver of my stormy days. And he's worthy to be praised in both. And so I just want to encourage all of you to know, like, this storm, it's temporary. It started leaving as soon as it got here. Don't make any permanent decisions based on a temporary storm. Be of good cheer. Jesus has overcame this all. And we're all going to have testimonies and stories of his goodness and greatness on the other side of the storm. So just know that we're all in this together. Greater is God that is in you than he who is in the world. This too shall pass. There's going to be newness and beauty growing out of this storm on the other side of it. So I just wanted to encourage you that we're in this together. And I know it's been a while since I've done a latte with Yate. Since we can't be together, I'm coming to you. And know that I love you guys. And God, he loves you most. Thanks.